the man in Canelo. A legend who recognizes another young beast. Well done on both these.
In a surprising turn of events, two of boxing's most recently talked about names, Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga, have seemingly buried the hatchet after a pre-fight feud that had everyone to their screens. The tension between these two had been building for weeks, with intense trash talk and confrontational moments leading up to their highly anticipated showdown. But just moments ago, during a live social, the pair shocked the boxing world by squashing their beef. In the live session, Canelo and Berlanga came together for the first time since their heated fight. Instead of tension or hostility, there was calmness, even laughter at times. The fighters who had been at each other's throats for weeks before the fight now seemed relaxed, sharing a moment of mutual respect. "I gotta admit, man, you gave me a good fight," Canelo said during the live. "You're strong, and you've got a future ahead of you. I wasn't expecting you to come at me like that." Berlanga, looking more relaxed than anyone had seen him in weeks leading up to their fight, nodded and replied, "I appreciate that. It wasn't easy getting in the ring with you. You've been the guy to beat for a long time. I had to bring everything I had." Fans were quick to comment on how genuine the two appeared in their exchange. Many had expected the bad blood to linger even after Canelo's victory, but it seems both fighters had a change of heart. "It was just business, you know," Berlanga continued. "We had our words, but at the end of the day, it's all respect. You're a legend, and I was just trying to make my mark."
Siguiente round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Canelo's fight with Berlanga was a night filled with familiar sights, but it also offered some surprising twists that made it more engaging than many had expected. For years, Canelo has stood at the top of boxing, dominating opponents and collecting titles. But lately, some fans have grown frustrated with the way his fights have played out. While Canelo remains a superstar in the sport, the way he's been handling his opponents has left people feeling like something's been missing. In his last few fights against John Ryder, Jermell Charlo, and Jaime Munguia, Canelo has done just enough to win comfortably. But he hasn't gone for the knockout or pushed himself to really dominate in the way that he used to. Saturday's fight against Edgar Berlanga was different. Sure, the final result showed that Canelo had won in a familiar way. He dropped Berlanga in the third round and cruised to a decision victory. But the journey to that win was far more interesting than recent Canelo fights. Berlanga, an American with Puerto Rican roots, came into the fight unbeaten, and he was determined to put on a show. It was Mexican Independence Weekend, and the crowd in Las Vegas was full with energy. Berlanga seemed to embrace his role as the bad guy, playing up to the fans and trading fouls and insults with Canelo throughout the night.
Me gusta eso.
In the second round, Berlanga threw a low blow, which stirred up even more tension in the ring. The referee had to step in and calm things down, but that only added fuel to the fire. Canelo, no stranger to bending the rules himself, had already thrown a couple of illegal punches to Berlanga's back, and from that point on, the two fighters seemed intent on pushing each other's buttons. As the fight went on, things got even more heated. In the 8th round, Canelo threw a right hand after the referee had paused the action, clearly retaliating for Berlanga's earlier use of his head as a weapon. Despite the constant fouls and rough tactics, the fight never spiraled out of control. Instead, it added a level of heat that kept the fans on the edge of their seats. Every round seemed to have its own mini story, with the fighters barking at each other between rounds, getting in each other's faces, and doing their best to impose their will on one another. It felt like more than just another Canelo fight. It felt like a real grudge match. But once the final bell rang, the tension seemed to dissolve. Both fighters, clearly worn out from their battle, touched gloves and embraced, showing a mutual respect that had been hidden throughout the fight. They even shared some words, but this time in a much friendlier tone. For a few moments, it was clear that while they had just spent 12 rounds trying to knock each other's heads off, they could appreciate the effort and heart that each had shown.
You know, I went in there with a legend today, man. You know, we came up short. Obviously, you know, I'm a winner at heart, man. So, you know, I'm a little down, but, you know I won the world after this performance. You know, I got dropped in the third round. I came back and, you know, fought a hard fight. You know, I fought a legend, man. So, a guy like me, right?
It was in this respect that the fight took on a deeper meaning. Sure, Canelo had once again dominated his opponent. He dropped Berlanga with a perfect left hook in the third round and put on a masterclass in controlling the ring. He kept his unified super middleweight titles and handed Berlanga his first professional loss. But this wasn't just about the result. There was something more personal about this fight, something that made it stand out from Canelo's recent performances. The crowd in Las Vegas seemed to pick up on it too. The atmosphere was electric, and the fans were clearly more engaged than they had been in Canelo's last few fights. Part of that was down to Berlanga, who, despite being the underdog, refused to back down.
Surviving.
I think he did really good, man, to be honest with you. I do. I think he went from fighting on a prospect level and fighting French contenders to fighting an all-time great, and he survived. And he actually landed some good shots. He got knocked down, got back up. He could be proud of himself.
Okay.
And I ain't even like a big Berlanga.
Time and again, the 27-year-old showed grit and determination, firing back with punches even when it seemed like Canelo was about to take complete control. He managed to land some crisp right hands on Canelo, showcasing his own power and skill, but it wasn't enough to sway the judges or change the outcome. Still, Berlanga earned Canelo's respect by standing his ground and refusing to fold under the relentless pressure that the Mexican applied throughout the fight. It's not often that Canelo's opponents can take as much punishment as Berlanga did and keep coming forward, and that earned him a lot of credit with the fans as well. Even though he lost, Berlanga didn't leave the ring empty-handed. He gained a valuable lesson in what it takes to compete at the highest level, and that experience will likely serve him well as he continues his career.
Were you surprised by Berlanga's performance in the ring tonight with his skills?
No, I'm not surprised. I think he don't fight like he used to fight. He defend himself a little more. That's why it happened what happened. But you know, I did what I supposed to do. You know, being there and fight and do my best and win the fight.
After the fight, Canelo spoke about Berlanga in a way that suggested he had gained a new appreciation for his younger opponent. "He did good," Canelo said. He went on to talk about their conversation after the fight, revealing that Berlanga had told him he was his idol and that he respected him. "He said he feels bad for the way he acted," Canelo added with a laugh, admitting that he had gotten a little angry in the heat of the moment. "I'm Mexican, man," he joked before proudly declaring, "Viva Mexico, cabrones!" Canelo's post-fight comments were not only a reflection of his respect for Berlanga, but also a reminder to his critics. For a while now, some have argued that Canelo only fights older, past their prime opponents, and that he hasn't faced enough younger, hungrier challengers. But on this night, Canelo silenced those critics by taking on an undefeated fighter nearly a decade his junior and doing what he does best, winning decisively. "Now what are they gonna say?" Canelo asked rhetorically after the fight. "I fight younger fighters. Before they said I only fight older fighters. They always talk. I'm the best fighter in the world." Canelo's statement carried a weight that has followed him throughout his career. Whether or not he is the undisputed best fighter in the world at this point, there is no doubt that he is one of the most special and accomplished boxers of his generation. His resume speaks for itself. Numerous world titles, victories over multiple world champions, and a career that has spanned well over a decade at the very top of the sport. Yet, this fight against Berlanga had an added layer of significance. It felt like more than just another routine win for Canelo. There was something different in the way he carried himself, something that suggested he was still finding new ways to enjoy the sport, even after all these years. His fights may not always end in the kind of dramatic knockouts that fans crave, but there is an art to the way Canelo controls the ring, imposes his game plan, and methodically breaks down his opponents. Berlanga, for his part, left the fight with a valuable education and a newfound understanding of what it takes to compete with the very best. At 27 years old, he has plenty of time to bounce back from this loss and carve out a successful career of his own. And if there's one thing that this fight showed, it's that he has the heart and the determination to do just that. As for Canelo, the future remains as bright as ever. Whether he continues to face younger challengers or revisits old rivals, he has proven once again that he is more than capable of handling whatever comes his way.
Nice. Nice, get ready.
Nice. That was fluid.
Edgar Berlanga may have lost his fight against Canelo Alvarez, but in many ways, the outcome wasn't a complete loss for him. Though Berlanga didn't secure the victory, the fact that he hung tough for 12 rounds against a fighter of Canelo's caliber says a lot. Not many boxers can make it through 12 rounds with Canelo without getting knocked out, especially considering Canelo's power and experience. Berlanga didn't just survive, he made the fight competitive. There were moments where his boxing ability shone, and he showed that he wasn't there just to be a punching bag. After the fight, the conversation quickly shifted from what Berlanga did wrong to what he did right. This wasn't a fight where he was dominated, beaten down, or embarrassed. Instead, he was in the fight, giving Canelo some things to think about, making fans and experts alike notice the 27-year-old's potential. In boxing, things move at lightning speed. Before fighters even have time to process their most recent bout, fans and media are already speculating about their next moves. Berlanga is no different. At 22-1, with 17 of his wins coming by knockout, he's got options in front of him. And the 168-pound division, despite being dominated by Canelo, is packed with talented fighters that would make for compelling matchups. One of the most talked about possible fights for Berlanga is against Caleb Plant. Plant, known for his smooth boxing style and sharp defensive skills, would provide a unique challenge for Berlanga. Leonard Ellerby mentioned that this would be a war, and he's right. Both fighters are not only skilled but also carry a certain swagger and intensity that would make for an electric build-up.
We actually sat down and had coffee.
Plant had a fight on the same card as Berlanga, and though he got knocked down, he came back to stop Trevor McCumbee, showing once again why he's one of the most respected names in the division. A fight between Berlanga and Plant would not only be a clash of styles but also personalities. Plant, with his Sweet Hands nickname, is known for his silky boxing skills, while Berlanga, dubbed the Chosen One, is known for his knockout power. The build-up to this fight would be explosive, with both fighters likely engaging in a heated war of words before ever stepping into the ring, as it has already started happening.
Caleb, here we go. Just wanted to know, right here, Caleb. Just wanted to know, obviously you spoke about Canelo potentially, us doing the math, him being your next opponent or an opponent you would like to get in the ring with in the near future. What were your thoughts on his fight with Berlanga, and what did you think about Berlanga's performance as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good fight. Berlanga, not to be hated, but he went around.
Another possible fight for Berlanga could be against Trevor McCumbee. Though McCumbee lost to Plant, he showed incredible heart and punching power, making him a tough opponent for anyone at 168 pounds. McCumbee had Plant in trouble at times, and his aggressive style could potentially cause Berlanga problems. On the flip side, Berlanga's ability to weather storms, as seen in the Canelo fight, would give him an edge in a battle of attrition. Would McCumbee give Berlanga the same kind of problems he gave Plant, or would Berlanga's power be too much for him?
Hook every time. He's not going to be waiting to fall. Ooh, he's hurt.
Big punch. Oh, but again, McCumbee says, the bell, and the referee stopped the fight.
Another name floating around in boxing circles is Christian Mbili. Mbili, a French fighter, is known for throwing a high volume of punches and bringing an aggressive style to his fights. He's hungry for a big name on his resume, and Berlanga could be that fighter. A fight between these two would be a real fan pleaser, with both boxers willing to stand in the pocket and exchange punches. Mbili recently beat Sergey Derevyanchenko, a tough veteran who has fought some of the best in the sport, including Gennady Golovkin. That win added more credibility to Mbili's name, making him a legitimate contender in the division. A fight with Berlanga would be a brawl, with both fighters trying to impose their will on the other. The question is, would Berlanga's power be enough to slow down the high-volume punching Mbili, or would the Frenchman overwhelm Berlanga with his work rate?
Right now, is he maybe in a little bit of trouble, or can he fight?
Although every now and then he lands these little left hooks there.
Oh, big left hand by Mbili.
Diego Pacheco is another unbeaten puncher in the division who could be in line to face Berlanga. At just 23 years old, Pacheco is a rising star, and he believes he's already ready for a shot at Canelo. However, to get there, he may need to go through Berlanga first. Pacheco is coming off an impressive stoppage win over Maciej Sulecki, showing that he's got the skills and power to compete at the top level. A fight between Berlanga and Pacheco would be a battle of youth versus experience. Pacheco is younger, but Berlanga has been in the ring with tougher competition, including the fight with Canelo. It would be interesting to see how Pacheco handles Berlanga's power and whether his youth and speed would give him an advantage. On the other hand, Berlanga's experience and toughness might be too much for the young up-and-comer.
Outside of Canelo, outside of yourself, some of the other names at 168 who could be potential fights for you down the road, how would you rank them? Berlanga, Mbili, Munguia, and Plant.
I would say Plant first. I think Plant has the most skills, he has the most experience. Plant, and then I'd say Munguia. Munguia is a hell of a fighter, a lot of heart. And I'd say Mbili, he's a dog, and I'd say Berlanga last.
A fight between Berlanga and Jamie Munguia could also be an intriguing matchup. Munguia, like Berlanga, went the full 12 rounds with Canelo and is eager to prove himself again. Munguia is a hard-hitting, aggressive fighter, and a bout with Berlanga would likely be an all-action fight. Both fighters have power, and neither is known for backing down. Munguia is set to face Eric Bazignan next, and depending on the outcome of that fight, a showdown with Berlanga could be on the horizon. If Munguia wins, it would set up a clash between two fighters who have both gone the distance with Canelo, but who are still looking for that career-defining win. Berlanga against Munguia would be a war of attrition, with both fighters pushing forward and trying to impose their will on each other. It's the kind of fight that could turn into an instant classic, with neither fighter willing to take a step back. Another interesting angle for Berlanga is the upcoming October fight between William Skull and Vladimir Shishkin, who will be battling for the vacant IBF belt at 168 pounds. This fight could have major implications for Berlanga, as the winner will hold a world title, and Berlanga could be in line for a shot at that belt. If Berlanga were to fight and defeat the winner of Skull vs. Shishkin, it would give him a major boost in the division and potentially set up a rematch with Canelo, this time with a world title on the line. Of course, winning a belt is easier said than done, and both Skull and Shishkin are tough, skilled fighters. Berlanga would need to bring his A-game to come out on top, but the reward of holding a world title could be the motivation he needs. One of the biggest challenges for Berlanga moving forward will be the mental aspect of coming off a loss. Losing to Canelo is nothing to be ashamed of, but it can still take a toll on a fighter's confidence. Berlanga needs to make sure he doesn't let the loss affect him mentally. Instead, he should use the experience as a learning opportunity to grow and improve as a fighter. Berlanga showed in the Canelo fight that he has a solid chin, good stamina, and the ability to hang with one of the best in the sport. Now, it's about building on that performance and continuing to improve. He has the tools to compete with anyone in the division, but it's up to him and his team to make the right moves and take the right fights. The next few months will be crucial for Berlanga as he looks to bounce back and continue his climb in the 168-pound division. Whether he fights Plant, Macumbi, Mbili, Pacheco, Munguia, or the winner of Skull vs. Shishkin, he will have plenty of opportunities to prove himself. The key will be staying focused, staying hungry, and continuing to work on his craft. If Berlanga can do that, there's no telling how far he can go in the sport. Well, what do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more updates. See you in the next one.